And Fit Body Forever communities. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Robert Linkul. I am here to chat with you today about I would say for lack of better terms, a point of frustration that I think we all are faced with right now in terms of what the common misconceptions are around aging, around resistance training, around sarcopenia, around osteopenia, around muscle mass, what it takes to do that, supplementation, the whole thing. And it all came together this last weekend, November 9th, was our second annual TOA workshop. We had a great group of presenters, and during one of the presentations, somebody mentioned that one of their clients was told by their doctor to not, do deadlifts or to not lift weights or something. And I went on 2 to 3 little minute soapbox, and the place applauded after I got done with this whole little rant. And so it made me realize I'm not the only one that feels this way. I want to share some information and just have a real honest talk with you about this. And I also want to draw out what exactly we're talking about when we say, if you don't resistance train, if you don't keep your body strong as you age, what's going to happen? So I'm going to do my best to kind of reenact all that for you as we work through this. And unfortunately, I do have a client right now that I am watching this process happen to and have worked with for a very long time, and it's heartbreaking. So I want to do my best to kind of showcase this. So stick with me. This one might be a little longer than usual, but if you could just stay the course, hang in there with me. Let's get into it. I want to start with Lane Norton, Dr. Lane Norton, talking here a little bit. Let's listen in. Hold on, let me get...
That physicians have given is when people have pain in an area, they tell them to stop doing activity. As you age, you are going to have pain. You can be strong and have pain, or you can be weak and have pain.
Let's talk about that for a second. As we age, your body is going to have natural wear and tear on it, no matter what. No matter what you do, your body is going to have wear and tear. If you don't do anything as you age, if you just sit at a desk and work and walk home and sit, and you're like, I haven't done anything to hurt my body, that lack of activity is what's damaging it. Your bones will soften, your muscles will weaken, and you'll be frail, and your body will be warped, and you'll lose the battle to gravity. If you overtrain and you're constantly blasting it and you're always running and you're always kayaking and rock climbing and lifting and ultra marathons and yada yada, you're going to have really strong, dense bones. You're going to have lots of muscle mass. You're going to have all these great experiences, but you're probably going to have some knees that ache and some shoulders that hurt and vice versa. So his explanation there is you can be old and completely out of shape with some pain, or you could be old and frail with some pain. Which one would you want to be? Okay, let's hear that again.
Doing activity. As you age, you are going to have pain. You can be strong and have pain, or you can be weak and have pain. We see now resistance training decreases the risk of cancer, decreases the risk of heart disease, drastically decreases the risk of sarcopenia.
There's big 3 right there. Cardiovascular disease, mental decline, cognitive decline, sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the loss of muscle mass and function. That means your muscles are shrinking and you're losing your ability to walk, stand tall, coordinate, dexterous, different movements, fast turnover of your feet. That's your gait, your ability to react quickly, to pick up, to push, to pull, to press, to run, to sprint, to carry, to do all those things that when you were 30, you could do. When you were 40, you could still do, but it was a little harder. When you were 50, some of it you could, some of you couldn't. It was just really difficult to get off the floor, go up and down stairs without your knees clicking and popping and hurting. 60, everything starts to hurt, but you're still hanging in there. 70, you've removed most of those things out of your life because they're too much effort and there's too much, difficulty in doing them. And then by 80, you hardly do anything. You just kind of sit in your chair. Okay, that is the gradual loss of functionality due to lack of muscle mass and continued effort to want to maintain it, okay? Ultimately is a very quick snapshot of sarcopenia.
Falls, broken bones. People talk about of falls, of broken bones. You know, people talk about calcium, vitamin D. Probably the single best thing you can do to improve your bone density is to resistance train. You know, you'll hear people say, well, I'm 40 or I'm 50 or I'm 60. It doesn't matter. You can still put on muscle. Right across.
He said the number one thing people could do, here it is right here. Let's hear that one more time.
Probably the single best thing you can do to improve your bone density is to resistance train.
The single best thing that you can do. So if we look at all the populations, let's start at age 10 and go up by every decade. 10, do they have bone density issues? They do actually. Their bones are too soft. They're really pliable. They're kind of Gumby-ish. That's why a lot of young kids don't break their bones when they fall, or if they tumble out of a tree, they just kind of bounce and get up. And if they do break something, it's either extremely unique angle or it was a really hard fall. But it's pretty unique for kids to like break bones, okay? Then you get into your teens, things are starting to get a little bit more solidified in its density, bones wise. You're still kind of growing, fellas, we're gonna grow to 18 to 21 years old, ladies until 21 to 25. So you're gonna eventually kind of top out. You're gonna hit your high end muscle mass development, all that into the 30s. Right around 30 to 35, that's when you've kind of reached your peak of max potential naturally building muscle mass and your bone density. So then from there, we're slowly tapering if you do resistance train, you're drastically tapering if you don't. And then let's say 70 and then 80s, your bones are super, super soft, your muscles are very weak. So if you look at all of those little chapters, those 10-year chapters across, what argument did I give you for all of them to say, well, they don't need to resistance train? If we have soft bones, this end of the bell curve of kids, this end of the bell curve, older adults, older, frail, elder adults, both could benefit from resistance training. This does not mean 1 rep max efforts. It just means moving load and or even their body weight around. Kids learning to coordinate movement, etc., but it's also helping with their bones as they grow. Same with the older adults. The teenagers still solidifying, learning and coordinating movements, etc., still wanting to build muscle mass, valuable. 50, 60-year-olds, valuable. All the way through to the center until we meet that middle peak at 30 to 35. When you're there, yeah, you still want to lift because you want to meet your maximum potential. So at any point in life, fitness, health and activity for sure should always be a key component to this, but specifically resistance in hand and moving through ranges of motion, I would make arguments from 7 until death. You should be lifting weights. And this does not have to be extremely heavy. I'm going to get bulky and become, Hulk Hogan. That's not the intention here. The intention is to be strong so I can do whatever activities I want to do and maintain my independence.
You'll hear people say, well, I'm 40 or I'm 50 or I'm 60. It doesn't matter. You can still put on muscle. Right across the street from where I was doing my PhD, they took basically frail elderly people who had trouble like sitting and standing up. I want to say it was a 16-week program. And resistance for them started out just squatting to a high chair. And then slowly they lowered it down. Some of them started using weights as well. They saw significant increases in their muscle mass as older people. So you can still put on muscle even getting older. In fact, Alan Aragon, he's another good nutrition person. He was posting a video of his father showing, I think his father was like over 80 years old and was doing goblet squats with like a 50-pound kettlebell. The amount of quality of life improvement you can get in people from resistance training throughout the course of their life or just getting them started regardless of age, it's a huge improvement in quality of life.
And that is the key takeaway from this entire video. And the whole point of today's presentation, I would suggest to you is the idea that no matter who you are, where you're at, and what point of life you are in, this is a lifelong pursuit. There is plenty of research to suggest this. And this is where I would say I get frustrated, is that I don't know a lot about most things. But the one thing that I really do know a lot about, that I am extremely passionate about, that I have dedicated my life to, that I read about every single day, that I dive deep into books and certifications and workshops, the pursuit of knowledge of how the human body can age more functionally, to combat sarcopenia and osteopenia and cognitive loss, through muscle mass gain is my life's work, my life's passion. So when I feel like someone will dismiss my suggestions on the one thing that I feel like I know the most about, it's very, very frustrating. And so I want to take this opportunity to talk to people who think you're young, you don't know, this is, I'm just old, this is what happens, or I know better. With all due respect, you don't, okay? This is something that in the general media, the general consumption of content in this world, slowly we're seeing this transition where more and more medical doctors are advising all people to resistance train. Before it was 1%. Now it's like 30%. And we have to keep going. Okay, we have to keep going. And I think my favorite line that Lane said in there is, you can be old with pain and be strong, or you can be old with pain and be weak. Which one do you want to be? And we know that people that are older and stronger, number one, live longer. They have better quality of life. They have a higher cognitive concept and retention longer into their later decades. If not, never lose it at all. Not everybody is going to have Alzheimer's or start to have some type of cognitive decline later in life. Plenty of people live to be 100 years old and still have all their abilities and all of their cognition and the way that their brain and their mind works completely intact. That's something that another misconception is that's going to happen at some point, and that's not actually true. However, those that do maintain it longer, there's great correlation to resistance training components being aided and valued into their life and aiding in that, okay? So with the constant battle and the pursuit of trying to maintain our independence, keep our cognitive mindset, keep our muscle mass, to improve our cardiovascular health, to improve our bone density, all this, the message has to be this. If you want all those things, resistance training has to be a must. This isn't something that I'm going to wait till I'm 50 and then I'll start to do it. This isn't something where I could do, no offense, Tai Chi and yoga and that will, and water aerobics and that will pass. There's no resistance in those. And the water is even worse because you're too buoyant in the water. You're an eighth of your body weight in there. And so if at least when I'm standing on the ground, I have gravity working against my frame. In the water, we don't even have that. Okay, well, it's easier on my joints, but we don't need easy on your joints. Not at this point. You need to build strength in your joints, right? And so you say, well, I have arthritis, or I have lower back pain, or I have sciatica, or you're going to have all those things no matter what. You have already done enough damage, and this is good damage. It's not like you're like, oh, you screwed up your body. You didn't. This is life. This is what happens to our bodies. You're using it, so it's going to wear and tear a little bit. However, do you want to have that arthritis, that knee pain, that back pain, that shoulder pain, and be weak, and be frail, and have all the risks of all the things I just pointed out the value to you to be able to maintain and or push back later in life, have all that creep up earlier and earlier on you simply by resistance training 3 times a week for 20 minutes. That's 1 hour of committed effort. 20 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Literally that little effort can produce significant, massive quality of life changes. From posture to cognition, to how you feel, to how you move, how your body, your gait, your posture, everything. It can all be improved with 20 minutes every other day. So we're not asking for this massive commitment, right? It's just knowing where this value is. You can have pain and be weak, you can have pain and be strong. Which one would you rather be? So the argument now comes down to, well, every time I do this, my knee hurts. Every time I do this, my back hurts, etc. So we need to learn how to work with your limitation, not around it. That is the problem. When you work around a limitation, do you fix the problem? No, you're ignoring it. And so your entire body is this level of strength. And this limitation that you have is keeping down here, my bad back. So I'm going to ignore that but I'll keep training everything else and training everything else. And it's all getting better. And I'm really getting strong and I'm doing a great job. But the age-old saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link, we're still down here with this weak lower back. And so how much better can we get? You basically just created a bigger gap. You created another limitation is I've got this super vulnerable weak spot and everything else has been drastically improved. Well, as soon as the back goes, everything else now stops. So you can either say, I'm going to work around this and I'm going to ignore it and wait for that catastrophic injury to occur, or you say, I'm going to learn to work with this limitation. And I understand I'm going to have some pain. You know why? Because I have sciatica, because I have arthritis, because I have osteoporosis, because I have osteoarthritis, bursitis, tendinitis, any itis, any inflammation, aggravation, etc. of a tendon, of a joint, of a muscle, and so on. You have it. So 80% of the time, that limitation is a limitation because it's weak. The other 20 is because something was torn or broken or damaged that needs some type of significant physical therapy or a surgical intervention. So you have that choice now to make. Do I pursue working with this limitation and wait for something called the arthritic grace period to occur? The arthritic grace period could also be known as the fitness grace period, which is basically a period of 2 to 12 weeks, and it just depends on the individual, 2 to 12 weeks, where introducing fitness, resistance training, etc., into an individual's life that does not normally train. In the first 2 weeks, you have an adaptation phase where the body goes, what are we doing? This is so foreign and this is so different. My arthritis is flared, my sciatica is in full ignition. I'm having all these issues. Everything is kind of bothering me because we're doing all this stuff that we're not used to. And as with anything else that your body is put through, if you continue to do it, your body will adapt. With or without injury, your body will adapt. And in 94% of the people that pursued resistance training, they did not stop, even with all the flare-ups, their limitations improved drastically, if not a bit. The other 6%, no negative returns, meaning no one got worse. And we are talking about thousands of people that participated in these types of studies. You have to give yourself 2 to 12 weeks. Some people, 2 weeks adaptation, they're good. Others, it takes 3 months. The bottom line is you have to keep going. You cannot stop. Am I going to be strong with pain or weak with pain? Keep coming back to that as the answer. And if you are choosing strong, you cannot stop. My knee flares up, I'm going to take a week off. You know what you're doing? Do not pass go, back to the beginning. That's what this is. Back to the beginning. The only thing that you have going for you is neurological adaptation, meaning that you've learned these movements now. The patterns are ingrained in your head. That's the only thing. Everything else, back to the beginning. So that, when I go, I'm going to take a 2-week vacation, you can't take a 2-week vacation and not resistance train. This is a part of life. You need to think of this as, I need to eat, I need to drink, I need to sleep, I need to breathe, and I need to exercise. And that exercise needs to have resistance training built into it. And you can go on vacation and go, I'm not here to make gains. I am here to not go backwards. I am here not to lose what I've already built. So if you're taking a 14-day vacation, 2 or 3 days in, go find the weight room at the hotel and make a little workout. We're talking 15 to 20 minutes. Do some sit to stands, do some bicep curls. Just put resistance through your body. You're not there to get better. You're there not to lose. 2 or 3 days later, do it again. 2 or 3 days later, do it again. There's plenty of time in there for you. While on vacation, mind you, relaxing, hanging out, having drinks, eating too much food, etc. All the things that we do when we all go on vacation, which you're supposed to do. That's what vacations are for. You to relax, enjoy yourself, let your body recover. Part of your recovery is maintaining your strength. So you have to exercise. You have to lift weights, especially as you get older. The draining bucket of your ability, the hole that's draining that out, gets bigger and bigger and bigger with every decade of life. So as you're getting older, you need to put in more deposits of high effort to maintain some kind of ability, not less. I know you're old. I know you're tired. I know that. But if you look at individuals who resistance train and exercise on a daily basis, they walk one day, they lift the next. They walk one day, they lift the next. They do that all week. They're in their 80s kicking ass and doing stuff and golfing and having fun, and they've got all this energy. And they're like, what's their secret? They're not weak. That's their secret. This is a mentality. This is a lifestyle that you have to say, I'm not going to do this for 18 weeks or 12 weeks, or this isn't a new fad, blah, blah, blah. This is life. And in life, I resistance train every other day. And I am active on those other days. It can be swimming and the beach and racquetball and tennis and golf and pickleball or whatever. Gardening, whatever. Just be active. Just go for a walk. Put on a backpack or a weighted vest. Go for a walk. But you have to be active. And you can't stop. Vacations, trips, whatever you're doing, you can't stop. It's too aggressive as we get older, and that's what we're seeing right now. Sorry for the super long rant, but let's look a little bit deeper into this. According to the research, most adults experience a gradual decline in muscle mass and strength starting around 30. That's when they hit their peak, with significant drops occurring around 60, leading to potential loss of 30 to 50% of their muscle mass between the ages of 30 and 80 years old. So up to half the muscle mass on your body could be lost in a 50-year period. And that 50-year is on the back half of your life, when you do not have hormones to assist you very well. You don't have high energy to assist you very well. You don't have youth on your side to assist you very well. What else would you say? Well, maybe we should do blank to accommodate the demands of this aging process. Resistance training. This decline can result in reduced physical ability, including difficulty walking, that's gait, climbing stairs. Everywhere we go, we're going to incorporate and incur stairs. This is a curb. You've got to be able to ascend and descend these. Getting up and down from chairs, getting up and down from the floor. If you fall, you got to get up, right? What if you're by yourself? Are you just going to lay there? You're just going to lay there now because you're 60? You're like, dude, you should be able to get up. You're 60. This isn't I'm old, I just can't do it. That mindset has to go. It's not okay to think that way anymore. Up and down from a chair, with the rate of muscle loss accelerating after the age of 65 for women and 70 for men. Okay. Other concerns in this, your muscle loss, on average, individuals lose 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade after the age of 30. And then again, that number increases after 60. Strength decline is called dynapenia. Okay. That means that you are losing pure muscular strength effort. Meaning if you grab onto a barbell and you pull on that bar and return whatever amount of weight that you can apply into that resistance, you can apply, that's just pure strength, okay? Then we have something called potentiopenia, and that is power. That is, how fast can I move that bar? How fast can I throw this medicine ball? How fast can I move my feet? So it's not just pure strength, brute strength, I'm gonna push over this boulder. It's how fast can I get from point A to point B, right? It's the more dynamic aspects of strength. Potentiopenia, both of those are built up underneath, subheadings under sarcopenia, which again is your loss of muscle mass and function. Now they put on here, and again, I'm not a huge fan of this because it sets this precedent. And again, a mindset. This is the medical term for age-related muscle mass loss. Okay, the age-related muscle mass loss. So right away you hear that and you're like, oh, naturally, just as everybody gets older, they're just going to lose their muscle mass. Yes, there's going to be a decline. You're never going to keep all of your pure muscle mass and strength that you had when you're 30. That's not going to happen. But when you say that this is just an age-related muscle mass, it makes it sound like this is going to happen no matter what, and it's going to be dire. And that's not the case. This could be a very slight, gradual decline loss, or it can be a drastic drop off the side of a cliff loss. It just depends on what you're doing to accommodate that. So it is the proper term. I'm not saying the definition isn't right. It's just the way I think people perceive it is they go, well, there's nothing I can do about it. See, it's the age-related loss of muscle mass. That's just going to happen. That's not the case. That's not the precedent we want to set. Okay. Functional limitations, this muscle loss can lead to difficulties in activities like walking, climbing stairs, up and down from the chairs. Okay, especially after 70, good, continue with that. And then lack of exercise, inactivity, or lifestyle significantly contributes to muscle loss and or functional decline. If you sit and don't do anything, use it or lose it, basically is what this comes down to. Nutrition is a big one. A poor diet, especially inadequate protein intake. Nailed it. I'm so glad they put that in there. The older we get, studies show, the less protein that we get into our body. So we need to really encourage our aging population to get more protein into their diet. No matter how you want to do that. I'm not here to debate meat or veggies and whatever. I don't care. Just get protein into your diet. And especially if you're trying to maintain muscle mass, you need that, okay? You need that for sure. And then hormonal changes, if you want more on this, go watch my webinar that I did. It's on this YouTube channel. Go watch the one that I did on menopause. And we talk about the hormonal changes that ladies go through. One, in the beginning of their life, as they enter into womanhood, right? You have one big hormonal flux. And then again, when you are perimenopausal, then menopausal, then post. And then there are other undulations in there. You've got a lot of hormonal responses. Guys, we have one when we enter manhood and we're flushed with testosterone. And then basically it tapers, right? Rather aggressively now, right around the age of, well, for some 30, others, most people, it's 45 to 50, we start seeing this taper of testosterone. And again, nutrition and daily activity feeds into that quite a bit. So I want to look into this article here from the National Institute on Aging. How can strength training build healthier bodies as we age? I am going to screen share over to that one now, and we can just take a little run through this, okay, as we go. Now, into this, they have some really good quotes. There are a couple of them I just wanted to point out. Some people have a hard time gaining muscle no matter how much they lift, while others have a hard time losing weight even when focusing on aerobic activity. What does that tell you right away? The only way that I can gain muscle mass is if I lift heavy weight, and the only way I can burn body fat is if I do cardio. And both of those are inaccurate, okay? You can gain muscle mass by lifting lighter loads, not light loads, but lighter loads, and working good controlled time under tensions and working different angles of stretch and working through higher volumes and repetition counts and tempos. There's a lot that you can do in there that doesn't require a 1, 2, or 3 rep maximum effort where you're tearing and ripping fibers apart for them to grow back bigger. That's simply not the case. It's been proven. Hypertrophy, thank you, Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, hypertrophy has shown to occur from repetitions of ranges of 6 to 30 or more, as long as you're picking an appropriate load that matches the demand of the reps. Meaning, if I want to do sets of 25 and I get to my 25th rep, I shouldn't be able to do a whole lot more because the load is so heavy. But for 25 reps, that load's not going to be very heavy. See what I'm saying? You just have to have effort and load meet at whatever rep count you're pursuing. And so it doesn't have to be just 1, 2, or 3 single attempts with the heaviest 100% load you can handle. That's a misconception. The other one is I can just cardio away body fat or not cardio away body fat. Any good personal trainer or coach will tell you the one way to lose body fat is in the kitchen. That's right. It's all nutrition, everybody. It's all nutrition. I have 19 to 20% body fat on my body right now. If I sit here and do crunches and sit-ups and leg lifts until I'm blue in the face every single day, you're still not going to see my abs. If I don't do any abdominal exercises, clean up my diet, and lean out, cut basically down another 10% body fat, you'll see my abs. So what does that tell you? It's all nutrition. It doesn't have to do with, well, if I want abs, I just have to do more abdominal work. I have clients come in all the time. That one client in particular always sticks in my mind. She came in probably pound for pound, the strongest, most athletic, the best physically performing client I've ever trained. And she goes, I think I have a weak core. And I said, why do you think that? And she goes, well, I can only do 30 sit-ups or something like that. And I said, client, she's a female, I said, you can you can deadlift almost double your body weight. And you think you have a weak core? That is not possible. It's not possible for you to have almost a 330-pound deadlift and have a weak core. Not possible. She has an extremely strong core. You know what she's not good at? Pulling her sternum to her knees over and over again, doing crunches and sit-ups. The hell do we need to do that for? Let me pull my body into the worst posture over and over and over and over again. And the middle point that is designed, by the way, not to go in this motion. It's designed to be extended and stand up straight. Your lower back is right in the middle of it all. And all the muscles that are helping you do that are just yanking on your lumbar. So why do you think everybody that's sitting up and leg lifts and rushing to us, they all have torn up backs? Right here. I did that crap for 15 years of my hammer throwing career thinking that's what I needed to do to have a strong core. And all I did was destroy my back. These are the facts, team. This isn't just my opinion. These are the facts. Talk to other experts in the profession. They'll tell you the same thing. You cannot out-train a bad diet. We say that all the time. You got to have clean eating. So that quote, a little misleading, okay? This variability from person to person in other areas of current research, both at NIA and institutions, it supports. Basically meaning we need more research on this. I butchered that. All right, muscle mass, use it or lose it. We've hit that pretty good, okay? Really good one there. The definition of sarcopenia, we go through this. Sarco is the flesh, penia is the loss of, right? Greek word for a loss of, or poverty of the flesh, loss of flesh as we go through there. They talk about it all in there. Lack of nutrition, climbing stairs, all this. Great definition. The science of strength training basically suggests that by tearing muscle fiber in a good way, you either create stronger binding sites or more binding sites. And that's where muscles either get bigger or they just get more dense and stronger and capable. That's why not everyone that resistance trains gets just huge. Because if everyone that moved weights around got huge, that would be a whole different a conception of like, oh, I don't want to get too bulky. You're like, you're right. Everyone that touches weights, they just get huge. They all look like Arnold all of a sudden. That's not the case. There are plenty of people out there, especially aerobics instructors, when you watch them, they've been lifting light little weights their entire life. And yet, what do they say? All my joints hurt, right? There's actually an injury called the aerobics instructor disease, which is just inflammation and tendinitis of all the joints in the body because they do billions of reps with little tiny weights. And so all of that is just overuse. Remember, itis is all overuse inflammation of tendons, ligaments, joints, etc. So they teach multiple classes a day, little tiny weights, and they just abuse it. And so all their joints hurt all the time. And they don't have any significant amount of muscle mass. But if you look at aerobics instructors that do a class or two, and then they go and lift weights for real on their own, and they challenge themselves, they're the best of both worlds now. I'm not crapping on aerobics. Do your aerobics. I think it's great. But challenge yourself appropriately. I've done aerobics classes. I've been dripping sweat, exhausted. It's hard work. It's good work. But you also need to pair that with anaerobic training, right? You have aerobic and then you have anaerobic. You've got to pair those things together because that's part of strength and conditioning. These two pieces that marry together, they build a very good, healthy heart and a very good, strong, sound body to carry that heart around. All right, can strength training help prevent obesity as we age? There's correlation to the more muscle mass you have, the less adipose tissue your body will carry. There is good support to that. So it does encourage people, the more resistance and the more resistance training and the more muscle mass that you're able to either maintain and or put on as we're aging, the less body fat you're going to carry statistically as you get older is a really good thing. The last thing that we want, especially for the fellas out there, because we carry more of our fat around our trunk, our heart, our chest, is to get our body fat percentages down, okay? All right, I think this pretty much wraps us up here towards the end. There was one more quote I really liked. Investment in time and efforts. They've got great discussions on all that. The daily routines, here we go. We should all think about how to build up a base of strong muscles to prepare for the loss of muscle and strength that we experience as we age. So the idea is, if I want to be awesome, Dr. Peter Attia says this, if you want to be an awesome 80-year-old, you have to be an amazing 50-year-old. Because yes, everything is tracking down, but it's on you to decide, is it going to plummet or is it just going to continue to gradually go down? Now we have something called the disability threshold. I don't have that keyed on here. I've talked about it in many other, let me just bring up, I can do it right here while we're on this. Disability threshold, there we go. Graphic, let's bring this up, here we are. So this guy goes to show you the disability threshold is this image that shows, can we zoom in on this? Here we go. That shows as we age, right up here around the age of 30, okay, you are going to experience a loss of muscle mass and two options. Untrained, orange line, down, 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 disability threshold right around 65, 70 on this chart is going to be a point in life where you now no longer have independence and you have to count on someone else to help take care of you and or additional tools, a walker, a cane, a wheelchair, etc. The disability threshold means now you have a disability. You're either super susceptible to disease or you have to have someone else help take care of you or you have to have some kind of additional assistance. Where the green line, notice it's not as high as it was when they were 30, but even at 60 or 65, it's only tapered down 10%, right? And it continues to taper down until both parties expire, death. But look at the one is another 30% still above the disability threshold. They never get to a point where they discover and discuss and say, all right, I am now in the disability threshold. They stay completely independent, and it's been part of their goal in life to do so, to maintain strength, to maintain muscle mass, bone density, posture, gait, all of that. To wrap this up, 40 minutes in here, I hope you don't mind. Those of you made it this long, I applaud you. Thank you. When we see, I'll grab my top for this because it's one of my favorite analogies. When you watch somebody walk in their 30s, their feet do this, right? They've got this triangular base, these long 3 foot, 3.5 foot long strides. And at 50, that 3.5 foot long stride turns into like 3 feet. And then at 60, it turns into 2.5. And at 70, it turns into 2. And by 80, it turns into like a half. And now, because we've added extra adipose tissue and loss of muscle mass, our triangular base that we had with our small waist and our broad shoulders, right? We had more of this triangle or this what am I thinking of? The clock that you tip over, hourglass, Jesus. The hourglass figure, right, that we have, wide base at the bottom and wider shoulders at the top, narrow in the middle, has basically turned into a top. It's narrow at the bottom, wide in the middle, right? More like a diamond, if you will. And so tops, when they spin, are perfect and they're great and they do well. And then the second they get out of balance, boom, they flip over. Whoop, they flip over. And so you get this spinning top, this balancing body that's like, it's doing okay and it's waddling around. And then the second it gets out of balance, wobble, wobble, boom, down it goes. And we see that happen more and more and more. But if you have an aging body that is resistance trained and kept up their strength, they still have these really long, strong strides that reduces their falls and their statistics of falling drastically. But when you talk to people that take these little steps and you say, why do you take such little steps? They say, well, I'm afraid of falling down. And so I feel like this would be a better base for me to work at with these tiny little steps. So keep that in mind next time you find your parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, etc., walking around with these little tiny wobbly steps, say, you should think about resistance training. Because remember, when they take these little steps, it's not because they're in such fear of falling down that they take these little steps. That's what they say. It's because they can't take big steps anymore. Because remember, if that was the safest way to walk, little tiny wobbly steps like that, like the little machine, the little robots you wind up and they're dur, 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 dur. If that was the safest way, we'd all walk like that. 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40, everybody would walk like that. But if you walk in anyone that has a good strong posture, good balance, good coordination, they take big long strides. Just because you're older doesn't mean that rule of stability changes. They're taking these smaller steps because they're too weak to take bigger steps. Granted, there's balance and coordination, other things that come into this, but again, all of those, cognition, cardiovascular health, all of those things, all of those are improved with a stronger body. Basic mission for this entire video is number one, when you go to implement resistance training into your life, it's now there forever is the mindset you need to have. Once you start, never stop. You cannot stop. You have to keep going. Just keep it going. You will only reap the benefits from it. Number two is strength throughout the aging process. You will see changes in it, right? You will see declines, but pound for pound, per capita, per age group, etc., always try to be in that upper like 25%. And that's going to be different for every demographic, every decade of life. But if you're constantly practicing this, you're always going to be in that upper echelon. Being strong and postured and capable of doing great things at that age, that's going to automatically, in my opinion, kind of bump you up there. Okay? Next is understand the grace period. And it's going to take you a little bit of time to get through that. And that period is going to occur again with anything else that occurs in life. If you have to have a knee rehabbed or if you have to have a hip replacement or something like that, you're going to have to go through these processes again of building back up, but never stop. Go back to rule number one. And ultimately, the whole thing, rule number 4 here is the more muscle mass you have, the longer and the better quality of life that you're going to have overall. More muscle mass equals longer, better life. Keep that in mind and do everything within your power to get that muscle mass and to hang on to it. All the studies support that. Everything endorses that. Talk to your doctors who are educated on that. Dr. Lane Norton, Dr. Peter Attia, Dr. Andy Galpin, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, Dr. Stacy Sims, Dr. Huberman, right? There's so many doctors out there now that are preaching this and writing books about it. Believe the science, believe this research. It is our obsession to help bring this information to you to benefit you. Take it. I'm Robert Linkul with trainingtheolderadult.com. I hope you enjoyed this. Any other comments, questions, feel free to throw it in the comment section down below. Please subscribe and like, share this. And if you want to learn more about our programs, head over to trainingtheolderadult.com. Much appreciation. Thank you for the time and for listening and for being here. And we will see you in the next one. Until then, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. Take care.